Hi, Mrs. Huggs. My name's Cole. I'm sorry to see you in here today. We did end up getting your test results back, and I do have some answers for you. So we took a look at a couple of different things: hemoglobin, hematocrit, serum ferritin, and your iron level. Those results all indicate something called iron deficiency anemia. Anemia itself is just a medical term that means that your blood counts are low. So the reason why we looked at the hemoglobin and the hematocrit was, are your blood counts so low that we have to worry about giving you a transfusion? And good news is they're not. And the second thing that we looked at was your iron levels to see if that's what's causing the anemia, and I strongly suspect that it is. There's a couple different forms of anemia. Iron deficiency anemia occurs when you don't have enough iron in your body. Since iron's a building block for making those red blood cells, it just kind of lowers that overall level. And when you don't have enough of those red blood cells in your body, it can cause you to feel weak, fatigued, dizzy, lightheaded, a little bit of lethargy, or even give you some weird cravings. And it sounds like those are kind of the symptoms that you've been having. Some of the biggest contributors to low iron are either you're bleeding, which you're not, your menstrual cycles have been regular, you don't have any kinds of GI concerns. Two, genetic condition. There is something called iron refractory iron deficiency anemia that typically begins during childhood. You don't have that. Third is the dietary. You're not eating enough iron. And to be completely honest with you, this condition is common. It's seen very frequently with women at childbearing ages, and iron deficiency anemia is the most common form of anemias. So typically a woman of your age should be eating about 18 milligrams of iron a day. Some ideal sources of that, are fortified breakfast cereals, beans, lentils, greens, or even certain kinds of meat like beef. A lot of times you don't think about this. You're just going about your day, you're eating like what you typically would. So over time, that can kind of lower your overall iron level, and your bones aren't able to make enough red blood cells. I think that's what most likely ended up happening here. We do have to consider, like, if you do end up wanting to get pregnant later on down the road, we'll have to increase that iron level. So what I would like to do going forward is just get you started on an oral dose of iron. You'll be taking that medication one time during the day. We'll kind of let that go on for a couple of weeks to a month, and then after that, we'll go ahead and redraw some lab values and check to see how you're doing. Your levels are low, but they're not so low that we need to worry about giving you an infusion or anything like that. I think that it's reasonable to go ahead. We can get you started on the oral medication, give it a couple of weeks, let your body naturally build up those stores again, and then we can kind of pop the tank and see how you're doing from a level perspective. Some considerations: sometimes iron meds can cause your stools to be a little bit dark. That isn't anything to worry about. So, iron deficiency anemia, it's very treatable. I'm glad that you came in. What kinds of questions do you have for me?